Alright, this is part 2. I accidentally turned off the camera, or well, hit a button. So, we're seeing if she is flinging dirt at me, or that's how they dig their burrows. I'm not trying to be a documentary person, but trapdoor spiders are quite reclusive animals, and not much is known about them because they spend most of their time in burrows. So no, she is actually not flinging dirt specifically at me. She just flings dirt out of her hole. I have another video where she actually uses that dirt to compress, well, maybe not specifically this one, but she's using that to reinforce her burrow more. But it's amazing, their throwing skills. I mean, it's literally she is it is literally going a couple of miles, not a couple of miles, but I mean comparative her. I mean, I would compare this to probably a shot putter at a track and field event, throwing a heavy ball in a direction. I mean, I'm gonna have a lot of dirt on my carpet if I keep doing this, but it's too cool. This is too cool to watch. I mean, now the specific species. Now I feel like I don't know why I'm narrating now, but I've already started. So now the specific species, I believe, is the orange trapdoor spider. But the problem is, when I've done research, is I don't know. There's not a whole lot difference between the orange and the red, except for the coloration, and not many people, I guess, really discuss it, and so, so this very well could be. I want to say these are African red, but on the internet people say these are orange. But I mean, the real difference between an African red is, that they're a lot more red. But this could just be a variation of the genetics, through various breeding programs in the wild. Well, I guess not programs in the wild, but various breeding methods could have just made the red ones become more lighter, which causes orange coloration, or very well could be a very separate species, in which case that means there's 3 distinct species of trapdoor spider that are exactly the same, only for various color of their body. I mean, there's the black and the red of the African that are exactly the same, except for the fact that one's black, one's red, and then you have this one that's orange. So, I mean, it's very interesting. I mean, it's also very possible that the black and the red actually, in some cases, reproduce together, which could cause this coloration. I mean, don't quote me on that. I mean, it's very rare that, hybrids aren't, something that's really possible in spider kingdoms and insect kingdoms, unlike, dogs and cats. So it's very possible that that's not true, and they're just actually 3 separate species. But like I said, trapdoor spiders are not that well documented, or for that matter, that well understood, because they're not like tarantulas or other spiders where they're out in the open a lot of times. These guys, I've had these guys for a month now, and I rehoused them because I had them in bigger tanks, and their size are about, the diameter size is relative to a dime. So can't really get a size comparison with these guys right now, but they're about the size of a dime in diameter, and the reds can get up to about 4 centimeters, even 6 centimeters, which is roughly, I think, about 2 maybe 3 inches, and so these guys have growth to go. But I had them in a way bigger tank, and for their size, I just decided to rehouse them. So I've only had them for a month, but as soon as they built their burrow, they'll never come out of it unless it's a male wandering for a female. But like I said, they won't have them for a very long time. But otherwise, you can't really observe them just because they're so secretive. But they are very, 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 very awesome spiders. They're one of my favorites. And as you notice, their legs are actually more pointed at the end, more sharp. I mean, their whole legs are a lot more plastic in a sense. I mean, they're not actual plastic, but if you look at, like, say, tarantulas, you know, they look soft and plushy, while these legs are like plastic, hard, rough, and a lot more pointed at the end, which is why they're so good at burrowing. Is because if you think of it, they're like, you know, they're like a hoe, like their legs are like hoes, and they, you know, they can dig up dirt and build these really fantastic burrows, and they're deep. They'll get deep. I mean, the ones I had, the houses I had in beforehand, they literally digged all the way down the bottom, and I had about 6 inches of substrate. So I mean, now they have a lot more substrate to work with. I mean, I have these up to like at least almost 10 inches of substrate. So I mean, they could very well dig them down all the way down the bottom to that too. But I mean, their legs allow them for this great kind of digging you see here, and also the way they're set up. Like you just about here go see. Like the way, like you also notice if you look at a tarantula and other spiders, their legs are set up a lot more symmetrical in a sense. Like these guys, their 4 legs are almost straight up in the front, and then there's this huge gap where the last 2 are. If you look at pictures of them, you know. And I think that also helps them with the scooping ability, where they can, like, you know, go down some dirt and just kind of grab a huge chunk of it, pull it out, and then use their back legs for the extra space to help, you know, keep the burrow from collapsing by compressing the rest of the area. So they're kind of like pushing back and scooping. I'm going to have to vacuum my floor at this rate. But like I said, it's something that I don't want to miss. But like I said, these guys are gorgeous. See, I'll reduce the size. There we go. She'll do this all night. I mean, he or she will spend the rest of the night pretty much doing this, you know, and then I won't see her, because then she'll probably, I bet, by the time I end this video and call it a night, she will probably still be going at it, and by the time I wake up tomorrow, she'll probably have the lid already over her. Now, the substrate I'm using is peat moss. I can't pronounce the name. They usually come with it, like sparum or sparunge. Peat moss. It's 100% organic. No, the real thing is you want no fertilizer in there, because that could potentially be harmful for your tarantula. In this case, harmful for the trapdoor spider. Since I'm not using this for planting, there's no real necessary to have those fertilizing chemicals in it. So this is just 100% basically dead fibrous material that over time, you know, becomes this material called essentially peat moss. And I just laugh every time she does that, he or she. Now if you look down, she's dug pretty deep. I know we can't really see.
That was A, before I knew they came in Republican form, and B, before they cut and smashed my hair.
How can you associate with them? You said they're tearing apart the fabric of this nation.
This is truly an incredible thing to watch. Now, they'll pretty much spend their whole time in that burrow, never leave it. It's quite literally a solitary way of living, you know, kind of like she's, you know, like their own prison, like they just decide, you know, I belong in jail, and so they dig these burrows. But I mean, it also is probably the safest thing for any spider to be, because they're also not exposed to predators like other spiders who don't have the whole trapdoor effect. I mean, a lot of spiders, a lot of tarantulas, for that matter, they build burrows, but no, there's always an entrance to it. It's very accessible. Well, these guys have a lid over it, and thus their trapdoor, but they will have the comfort of a pole, which will blend in with the ground. So, unless it's a predator specialized in looking for them, like certain wasps and some mammals, they will pretty much be protected. So it's a trade-off, you know. Always stay in your home for the rest of your life, but have the comfort of knowing that you will not be messed with if you're lucky.
What is this, and how can I replace my blood with it? It's a Cuervo Cosmotinian. Roger, are you crying? Tears of joy, Stan. Tears of joy.
Dan? Beautiful roses you left in my nightstand.
Oh, no, honey, they're not for you. Those are ambient roses. They're a present for the bedroom.
Oh, that was nice of you.
I don't know what you've done, Stan, but kudos. No notes for you.
Hello, Dad. Wow, that's a nice manicure you have.
Why, thank you, Esteban.
I knew it. The gays got to you with their insidious ways.
I'm not gay. I'm just enjoying the lifestyle. I don't squint your eyes.
Now, it looks like she's hurting herself, you know, with all the turning around stuff, but spiders are actually kind of used to being able to fit in tight corners. In fact, they're considered really good escape artists for getting into for squeezing out of small places. So it's actually pretty. It's not. If you might think it might be really uncomfortable, you know, if you thought if this is something one of us doing it, you know, we'd probably need a bigger hole to work with, you know, so we didn't have to like crank our necks to turn around. But for them, it's meaningless. It doesn't bother them clearly. Otherwise, they'd be making bigger holes. But yeah.
Mary Martin, Kathy Rigby, Sandy Duncan, Mary Lou Retton. Wow, all the Peter Pans, and in order.
I'm gonna wrap this up. This is already getting pretty long, and so like I said, nothing really probably.
You're not invited.
And like I said, I'm already. Oh, what's she doing here now? Got a double shot, and she'll be doing this for quite some time, as you can see over the floor. Those are pieces that she's flung, and you know, I mean, they're not far away, but I mean, relative to her size, you know, that's pretty far distance for that, you know. And she's probably getting tired of me videotaping her, so I'm going to call this, guys, and I hope you enjoyed this little informational video.